Okay, so good morning, students. Let's start with this lecture today. So a quick recap of what we have done till now. We've understood what are the advantages of optical fibers. We have understood the block diagram of an optical fiber communication system. We've seen how light would propagate and stay inside the optical fiber through the Snell's law and the total internal reflection. We've seen what is numerical aperture and how we can relate it to acceptance angle, which is the angle at which the incident ray must hit the fiber so that there is no refraction of the light inside. There is only reflection of the light inside the core of the fiber. We've also related it to delta, which is the index difference, relative index difference. And we've been able to differentiate between the types of the optical fiber cables based on refractive index profile. So you have step index and gradient index fibers based on mode, which is the single mode and the multi-mode fiber. And we have discussed the advantages and disadvantages of the same. Then we solved some numericals yesterday on different parameters like NA, critical angle, acceptance angle of the fiber. So all of that is available. Then lastly, we discussed the idea of mode and rays, and we discussed that the rays that we are dealing with here in this course are known as meridional rays. They are called meridional rays because they they pass through the axis of the fiber or the center of the fiber, in comparison to skew rays, which are basically helical in nature. Right? So it's always going to be the meridional rays which we are dealing with. The aim now is to talk about that kind of a fiber which is used a lot in current system, and that is the single mode fiber. But before really going into the single mode fiber, we need to have some build up so that we can actually understand what this single mode fiber is made up of, or how it is going to function, right? So just the build up again will take us into the types of fibers which we have discussed, but a little more in detail, and then we'll be in a position to really understand what this single mode fiber is. We have already discussed yesterday what the mode is. So the mode is nothing but it is set of guided electromagnetic field patterns. So I want to discuss more in detail about what this implies. What is this set of guided electromagnetic field patterns, right? And then also what is the order of the mode. We've defined it, that it is number of zeros in the field, but we need to understand in detail what exactly this means, right? So once we understand this, then we'll be able to really understand what this one mode in single mode fiber actually means. So we'll just quickly recap a few of the aspects which we have already discussed, and then go a little bit in detail regarding types of fibers. So that is the aim today, and then move into the details of single mode fiber. Right? Please note that we are discussing in detail about single mode fiber because that is the fiber which is used a lot, because it is a little cheaper and it can be used for longer distances as long as 2000 to 3000 kilometers. Okay, so let us quickly look at the types of fibers in detail a little bit. So let us look at the step index fiber, SI. So we've already drawn this. I'll redraw this for completeness so that we are able to understand this. So from a side on view, this is the core. This is the core of the fiber, and this is the cladding of the fiber. So this is the core and this is the cladding. So in a single mode, in the step index fiber, as we move from the cladding towards the core, there is an abrupt change in the refractive index, which implies when I come from the cladding towards the core, now at this point there is going to be an abrupt change in the refractive index. It stays the same inside the core, and then once you move back to the cladding, it changes again, right? So here, this distance of the core, this is nothing but the diameter of the core, and we call this some 2a. In some books, it may also be called as 2r, right? But I'm going to just call it 2a, where a is radius of the core, hence 2a will be the diameter, and I am calling r as refractive index profile. Okay, that's why I'm not calling r as the radius. Okay, in some books they call r as the radius of the core, and then they have some other another alphabet for refractive index profile, but we'll just stick to that, right? So you have a as the radius of the core, and core has a refractive index n1, and cladding has a refractive index n2, which for us from the start has been less than n, right? So n1 and n2 would be the refractive index. The y-axis here, if I draw the profile with the axis here, so this y-axis here, if you view this in the form of a graph, the y-axis here is going to be the refractive index. So I'm going to call this n of a, or rather n of r, and x-axis, that would be on this side, will be the distance, that would be r here, right? This is known as the refractive index profile. Okay. So basically the refractive index profile for a step index fiber n of r is going to be, if you are in the core, the refractive index will be n1 for r between n1 and n2, and it is going to be n2 for r greater than n1, right? So you have the refractive index n1 when the r is between the n1 and n2, and it is going to be n2, that is the cladding refractive index, once r is going to exceed the refractive index of the core, right? Then you have the graded index fiber. So let me redraw the diagram for a graded index fiber. So let this be the core, let this be the cladding. So the core has refractive index n1, the cladding has a refractive index n2, which is less than n1. And what happens here is, once you move from the cladding towards the core, there is no abrupt change in the refractive index. Rather, there is a gradual increase, then a gradual decrease, and then you come back to the cladding, right? So you can see what is the difference between the step index and the graded index fiber. Of course, this is again going to be 2a, which is the diameter, and then again you have the y-axis and the x-axis, which is going to be the distance, that the profile n of r and the distance, right? Now for this kind of a fiber, the graded index fiber, the refractive index profile n of r is defined as, so n of r, this n of r is the refractive index profile, and this is going to be defined as, so it was easy for us to define this refractive index profile here for step index fiber because there is just an abrupt change. So if you can see from the cladding to the core, there was an abrupt change. So either we have n1, the value is either n1 for a certain distance, or we have the value as n2 if the if the distance increases there. But that is not the case for the graded index fiber, because there is a gradual increase, then there is a slight constant, and then there is a gradual decrease here, right? So this makes the mathematics or the profile for the graded index fiber a little complicated, and which is given as n1 1 minus 2 delta, where delta is the index difference, r divided by a, where r is the distance, a is the radius, raised to alpha. I'll define the alpha in just a moment, raised to half, and this occurs if r is between 0 and a, and you have n1 1 minus 2 delta raised to 1 by 2 if R is greater than A. So this is the cladding, and the top portion is your core, right? So I've given a confusion there in terms of the step index fiber. So let me alter that. So N1 is between 0, R and A, and this is R greater than. Okay, but I had explained you what the idea is, right? Now, the graded index fiber profile, of course, it it looks a little complicated and it can be derived. However, what is important here is to note two things. One is delta, which we have already defined. It is relative index difference, which is n1 minus n2 by n1. And we have also used this in solving the numericals. So r is the distance, a is the core radius. So what is this distance? R basically is the distance measured from center of the core, right? So let us define R for completeness. R is distance measured from center of core, and this is going to be along the radius. So that is the distance there. Okay. Now the other parameter which needs to be defined there is this term called alpha, and this alpha is known as the index profile parameter. Index profile parameter. So like I was saying, you can derive this equation for the refractive index profile equation. We can do the derivation, but that is beyond the scope of the syllabus. But we'll have to recollect this equation. As such, it is not that useful for solving numericals, but there are certain numericals where we have to find the value of alpha. So we'll solve such kind of numericals, you'll understand better. Right? Now this alpha is very important, because if you look at the equation for the refractive index profile, now if we substitute alpha as infinity, in that equation, right? So your 2 delta R by A raised to infinity will just become 0, right? And you'll only be left with N1, which implies that when alpha is infinity, the graded index profile turns out to be a step index profile, because in the step index profile you just have N1 between for R less than between 0 and A, right? So let me write this for more clarity. So you keep looking at the equation so that you are able to understand, right? So if alpha becomes infinity, then that equation for n of R becomes just N1. Why? Because the term in the bracket 1 minus 2 delta R by A raised to alpha will become 1 minus 0, which will just be 1. So you have N1. This is between 0, R and A. And then you just have N2 again. And you just have, N1 again here. And this just implies that it is the cladding. Right? So for alpha equal to infinity, graded index profile is equal to a step index profile, right? So there are ways to make this alpha as infinity. Okay. If alpha is equal to 1, then the profile is triangular, and when alpha is equal to 2, the profile is parabolic. Right? So how does this look on a graph? On a graph it looks like this. So you have n of R you have R here. So when alpha is infinity, the profile looks like this. When alpha is 1, the profile is triangular. The profile looks like that for alpha equal to 1. For alpha equal to 2, the profile is parabolic. So the profile looks like that. This is alpha equal to 2. Right? So this is what happens to the profile. Okay. So a little more detail on the step index and the graded index fibers. Okay. The reason why we are doing that is because the single mode and the multi-mode fibers could be step index single mode fibers, or graded index single mode fiber, or step index multi-mode fiber, or graded index multi-mode fiber. Okay. So this is a little more detail about the step index and graded index fibers. Now let's look at a little more detail on the fiber types based on the modes. So we have two types in that we discussed yesterday. One is the single mode fiber and the other is the multi-mode fiber. So in the single mode fiber, you have only one mode. In the multi-mode fiber, you have multiple modes. This can be used for longer distance. This is used for shorter distance, and I also told you the reason for that. The reason is, since it has multiple modes, the modes start to interfere with each other. It is like crosstalk, and the reason for short use of multimode fibers for shorter reason is because the intermodal dispersion or the intermodal crosstalk is high. Right? We'll discuss on this in module 2. What is this intermodal dispersion? Right? In short, it is also known as IMD. Okay, so we'll see what this intermodal dispersion is. For now, since it has multiple modes, these modes are going to start to interfere with each other, and the dispersion is high, and this increases as the distance increases. Right? So we'll establish that relation also. That's why multimode fibers are used only for shorter distance. Okay. The other advantage of a single mode fiber, you get higher bandwidth. This multimode fiber also provides higher bandwidth, but for shorter distance. In fact, currently the multimode fibers provide much higher bandwidth than single mode fiber for distances about 1 kilometer. So in office environments, in shorter distance, you must prefer the multimode fibers, right? So the other aspect when it comes to single mode and multimode fiber is this. So for a single mode fiber, the core radius, that is this diameter, let's say 2a, right? For a single mode fiber, okay, for a single mode fiber, this 2a is very small. That means radius is very small, hence diameter is very small. What is the implication of this? The implication is light insertion needs precision. Because the radius is very small, diameter is very small, you need to be very precise in inserting light into the single mode fiber. So just to give you a glimpse of what happens in the single mode fiber, the radius here, the diameter of the core is very small. It could be as small as about 20 to 25 micrometer. Okay. It's a very small radius, and therefore you need a lot of precision, and hence the result is you always need to use a laser as a source, and the result of that is cost is high because lasers are costlier, right? But I mentioned to you, since the bandwidth is very high and the distance of transmission also becomes very large, we prefer the SMF. But for shorter distance, you always prefer the multimode. Right? So when it comes to the multimode fibers, the core radius is large, and you can get them as large as so let me write this. 2A is large, and you can get them as large as 100 micrometer to about 125 micrometer. So you don't need to be that precise in inserting the light. Therefore, LEDs can be used as a source. Therefore, cost is low. So I'm comparing them. That's why I say cost is low. So cost is lower than that of the single mode fiber. Right. So this is the advantage disadvantage that we get when it comes to using the single mode fiber or the multi mode fiber. Right. So the next aspect before going into the details of the single mode fiber is to understand the details of this mode. So let's look at that. We have already defined what this mode is, right? So let me rewrite again. It is set of transverse electromagnetic fields. Right? What is this word transverse? Transverse basically implies orthogonal. So the EM fields, the electric and the magnetic fields, so this is E bar and this is H bar, they will always be at 90 degree with each other. Right? That is what the mode is. So what exactly does it help us with? So we should also know what is like the order of the mode. So we have already defined this. Now we are going to see the details of this. So the order of the mode is number of fields becoming zeros across the guide. Guide here means the optical fiber cable because it is guiding the light. Now let's try to understand what this zeros mean. So let me draw this diagram, and this will help you in understanding what this mode is and what this order of the mode is. So let us take the example of an optical fiber which looks like this. So you have the core, which is N1. You have the cladding, which is having refractive index N2, and I'm not writing it, but N2 is less than N1. And likewise, you have the cladding here as well, which will have a refractive index N2. Right? Now, the fields mean this. Now, since we are saying that these are transverse electromagnetic fields or electromagnetic rays, you can write them as TE, transverse electromagnetic. TE stands for transverse electromagnetic. And if the order of the mode is zero, the order of the mode is zero. Now, how are we defining the mode? The mode is number of fields. Fields can be electric and magnetic fields becoming zero across the guide. So if T is zero, so subscript zero means the fields do not become zero at all. That means the fields would look something like this. So if the ray is in the cladding, the moment it comes to the core, it is propagating and then it goes back in the cladding. So you can see here that the field does not become zero. Okay. If that is not understood, you can understand this concept of zero through TE1. 1 implies that there is 1 0 for this ray. So the ray looks like this. Once it comes from cladding, it goes inside the core. Now it passes 0 or it becomes 0, and then it goes back into the cladding. So you can see here, this point here makes a 0. So TE1 is a transverse electromagnetic wave, or the mode which has 1 0, right? Likewise, if we have TE2, it implies that there are 2 zeros. So the ray comes from the mode comes from the cladding. The mode comes from the cladding, goes inside the core, makes 1 0, makes another 0, and goes back inside the cladding. So this is 1 0 here, and this is another 0. That's why it is called as TE2. So number of these fields becoming 0 across the guide, that will be the mode of the file, right? So this is, now from here we can define some of the terms which we should be already aware of. So this part here is harmonic variation. It is harmonic because this part of the ray, that is the ray before becoming 0. Is the screen visible, any of you?
No, sir.
Okay, hold on. I think OneNote just crashed. One second. Okay. Let me put this back. Okay. I think now it should be visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was mentioning this is known as the harmonic variation because before becoming the 0, so this part of the mode, I think it's gone bad again, right? I'll reshare again. Okay, I think it's back. So you are able to see the screen, it's crashing, that's why.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this part of the mode before it becomes 0, and that part of the mode after it crosses first 0 are the same. That means their structure and their properties is same. That's why it is known as harmonic, right? So that is the harmonic variation. So this is just for your information. This is what the mode would look like. Okay. So we have defined what is the mode, what is the order of the mode. Now what is important for us apart from this is to understand types of mode. So there are 3 types of modes which occur in an optical fiber. One is known as the guided modes. The second is known as the radiation mode. And the third is known as the leaky modes. These have another name also. In some books you will read. These are also known as evanescent modes. Evanescent modes. Okay. Evanescence in English means it's fading, right? That's why they are called as leaky modes. Okay. So what are these guided modes? These guided modes are the modes which are of interest to us. These guided modes remain in the core of the fiber, and they remain in the core of the fiber, usually the lowest order modes. Lowest order modes. They remain at the center of the core, right? The lowest order modes. Okay. Now, what about these radiation modes? So when light is launched into the fiber, right? When you launch it and it is launched angle becomes greater than acceptance angle, some light is going to be refracted outside the core into the cladding. So this rays refracted rays due to the angle of incidence becoming greater than the acceptance angle, these kind of refracted rays are known as the radiation rays or radiation modes. Okay, so these are the refracted rays into the cladding. They lead to power loss. Why? Because they are refracted rays and they always propagate in the cladding. Okay. Now, what about the leaky modes? The leaky modes, these are partially in the core and keep attenuating or decreasing in power. Keep attenuating or decreasing in power along the fiber. So they are in the core, partially in the core, but as you move along the fiber, these start to attenuate in power. Right? So radiation modes and the leaky modes are not of any interest to us. In the fiber, it should never happen that you have radiation modes and leaky modes. Ideally, you must always have guided modes because these remain inside the core of the fiber, but that always does not happen. You are always going to have some radiation modes and leaky modes, and there are ways to reduce them. However, in general, maximum power and maximum of the modes are always going to be the guided modes. Okay, so we are really not interested in having light being the radiation mode or the leaky mode. We always want the light to be only the guided mode. Now, important to note from the guided mode definition is they remain in the core of the fiber, and these are the lowest order modes. These are the lowest order modes. Further, they remain at the center of the fiber. Further, they remain at the center of core of the fiber. So, for propagation of light, I must always prefer the guided modes because they are closest to the core, closest to the axis of the fiber, and this is the basis of finding or making the single mode fiber. Right? So, if I am able to have this single mode fiber with guided modes, then I can say that the light is always going to be at the center of the fiber. Now there are conditions for this guided mode. For mode to remain guided, the propagation factor termed as beta, which is 2 pi by lambda, must follow this equation. Sorry, beta is not 2 pi by lambda. The propagation for the mode to remain guided, the propagation factor beta must follow n2k less than beta less than n1k, where k is 2 pi by lambda. Right? So there is something which is known as the propagation factor, and we'll look at this more in detail in module 2. There's something which is known as the propagation factor beta, and this beta must follow this relation n2k less than beta less than n1k, where k is your constant, and this constant is defined as 2 pi by lambda, where lambda is the wavelength, And if you have this condition beta between n2k and n1k, then we can say that the light is guided. That is, the mode is guided. This is an important. Relation. It helps us in the numericals as well. It will help us in understanding dispersion in module 2. So I will be deriving this relation or this factor of beta being between n2k and n1k in module 2. It is related to something which is known as phase velocity and group velocity, which we'll be doing in module 2. Okay. So right now we only need to know this definition. Okay. So this will also be one of the basis of defining a single mode fiber. Okay. So the last part in defining the single mode fiber is what is known as the V number. This is also known as, in some books, this is also known as normalized frequency. This is also known as the normalized frequency in some books, but we will always be referring this to the V number. It is an important parameter. It is an important parameter, and it is connected to what is known as a cutoff condition. Now, from experiments, it has been found that for a fiber to be a single mode fiber, the V number must be less than or equal to 2.405. So this is already established. There is nothing to derive here. Okay. Already experiments have been done, and it has been derived very clearly that if V is less than 2.405, you get a single mode fiber. However, if V is greater than 2.405, the fiber is a multimode. This is a very important cutoff condition factor for us. It helps us in solving a lot of numericals, which we'll be doing probably in tomorrow's lecture. Okay. Please note, V number is a dimensional quantity, dimensionless quantity. Okay. So there are no units for this V number. Okay. So it is a quantity which determines the number of modes a fiber can support. So if V is less than 2.405, then you can say that it is a single mode fiber. It is going to support only one mode, else it will support multiple modes. Okay, so I'll just make a note here. V number, it determines the number of modes a fiber can support. So in the numericals, we'll see that calculate, determine if the fiber is single mode or not. You have to calculate the V number. If it is less than 2.405, you will say it is single mode, else it is a multi-mode fiber, right? So what is the equation for the V number? Again, this has been derived through the experiments. So this is something that we will have to recollect every time we solve a numerical based on V number. It is specified as 2 pi a, where a is the radius of the core. Please have this clear in mind. Many students make mistake here. A is the radius of the core. So 2 pi a divided by lambda, where lambda is the wavelength of operation, into n1 square minus n2 square root. You can also write this equation as 2 pi a by lambda, and root of n1 square minus n2 square is nothing but numerical aperture. So this is the equation for the V number, very helpful equation in solving lots of numericals. Okay. If you have a multimode fiber, so in this fiber, the number of modes can be found using the equation m, which is number of modes. M is one by 2 pi a by lambda raised to half n1 square minus n2 square. This entire factor inside the bracket, that is this factor, is nothing but v square. Therefore, for a multimode fiber, m is very simply v square by 2. Okay. Important again, because it helps us in finding that how many modes a multimode fiber can support. Okay. So this will also be helpful for us in solving numericals from time to time. Okay. So this specifically happens, m equal to v square by 2 specifically happens if you have a step index multimode fiber. If you have a graded index multimode fiber, for such kind of a fiber, m can be found as v square by 2 into alpha by alpha plus 2. However, we do not have separate equations for step index and graded index single mode fiber, because for any kind of single mode fiber, V always has to be less than 2.40. Right? So this graded index multimode fiber will now be dependent on the index profile, that is the value of alpha. So if alpha is infinity, you get step index. In that case, you will see that the equation for GI multimode fiber will be same as step index fiber. If alpha is 2, it will be parabolic. If alpha is 1, it will be triangular. We will solve some numericals, you'll understand much better. Right? So we can do some more mathematics based on this, which we'll be doing once we solve the numericals. But you must know that as you approach the cutoff, that is, as you approach this 2.405 value, then the power may start to leak. That means the power may start going into the cladding of the fiber, which is not a good thing for us. Right? We always want the power and the light to be only inside the core of the fiber. Right? So from this normalized frequency, we can calculate one last parameter, which is known as cutoff wavelength. So we have done the frequency part, we can do the cutoff wavelength. So cutoff wavelength, if I just scroll up, you'll be able to see that the V number has a lambda in the denominator on the right hand side. If we just cross multiply, we can find the cutoff wavelength, that is the wavelength. So I'm going to use that equation to find the cutoff wavelength. So I'm just going to cross multiply. So lambda will be 2 pi a by v root of n1 square minus n2 square, or lambda is 2 pi a by v, and this factor here, root of n1 square minus n2 square, is numerical aperture, which can be written in the form of root of n1 square minus n2 square, or equal to n1 root 2 delta. Right? This we have derived previously. So you have 2 pi a by v in this equation multiplied with n1 root 2 delta. Right? So this is your cutoff wavelength, which is also specified as lambda c. So how do we define the cutoff wavelength? It is minimum value of wavelength that can be transmitted through the fiber. So this is how we can find the cutoff wavelength, right? So there are many numericals which we can solve based on the V number, the cutoff wavelength, and other factors which we have just discussed. So we'll start solving the problem tomorrow, and we are almost towards the end of module 1. A few definitions are left, and few a few other concepts and the making of the fiber is left. So after solving the numericals on V number tomorrow and the cutoff wavelength tomorrow, we'll be able to finish this module very soon. Okay, so